All right, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about supply chain disruption that suspends your operations. For this to count, you may be called upon to show that your suppliers were unable to make deliveries of critical goods or materials due to a governmental order that caused the supplier to suspend its operations for calendar quarters that you're claiming the credit. This is where it can get challenging. Okay, so let's break this down. Two major focal points here. First, you may have to show that your business operations were fully or partially suspended because it could not get critical goods or materials. No surprises there, right? Second, and this is the fun part, you may have to show that the government orders that caused the supplier to fully or partially suspend its operations. Recent IRS directives have restricted reliance on supply chain disruption and heavily burdened businesses with having to qualify not only their own operations for benefits, but in essence, also those of their suppliers. For the record, I think it is clear from the ERC itself that Congress never intended to saddle businesses with this type of burden. But I don't make the rules, and the IRS is given a lot of leeway to run the ERC. And there are more than a few pitfalls here for the unwary that you need to be aware of. First, the business may have to show that it considered alternative sources for critical goods or materials, even if they were more expensive, including any reserve of your own inventory. Second, you may have to show you consulted with your suppliers, and they, your suppliers, can produce a government order that caused them a full or partial suspension if called upon to do so later. And pay special attention for any lifting of that order later. And finally, and just know that a limited stock of some but not all of your inventory alone won't qualify the business for benefits based on the supply chain disruption standard. With all this said, let me close out the supply chain disruption analysis with this. Remember, back in the day, newsreels of nautical miles of cargo ships backed up for miles in the California ports of LA, Long Beach, and San Pedro, which ports dominate the American supply chain. Well, they were all bombarded with crippling state and local COVID orders, some of which are still in effect to this day. Use the website I gave you and shown here again on the screen for a set of many of these California orders. In other words, you can go as high as you can in the chain to show the disruption if called upon to do so. Next, let's wrap things up with a talk about documenting the evidentiary support for your claim. And for that, we'll see you on the next video.